Hey everyone, thank you. The episode 49 we're up to. Man, we are getting there. Thank you for downloading. Thank you for subscribing to the Retro Gamers. Hopefully on iTunes, on Spreaker, on iHeartRadio at this point. Larry here.
And Anthony here.
What's going on? Jet-lagged Ant.
Anthony's tired today.
Hopefully you're going to be in the same time zone for a little while.
Yeah, a whole week.
There you go. Sweet. Wait. Are you going back to Japan? Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, you were telling me about that.
Yeah, I'm going back to Japan in a week.
There you go. Nice.
I swear, I just, I just jumped like 3 different time zones in 10 days. I'm definitely feeling the brunt of that.
Oh man, ouch. All right.
And they're not even like little. It's not even like little time zones. It's not even like, oh, I went from Central to Eastern. It's like, no, I went from Japan to Eastern Standard Time to Pacific Standard Time, and it's just, yeah, my body has no idea what's going on anymore.
Oh, you poor soul. It's. But I hear you though. Don't get me wrong. That jet lag is the worst. But I heard with Japan, actually heard the jet lag is worse coming from Japan back to the U.S. than the U.S.
It definitely is. I will attest to that right now. It is so, yeah, it just throws you off completely. Yeah, I think the only thing I have left to do is to like jump in a space shuttle at this point.
Don't you wish the Concorde was still in effect?
Right? Oh man, that would be so awesome.
Honestly, you're right. It gets to London in 2 hours. It'll probably get Japan in about 4 or 5.
I'll take that over 12 and a half. But it won't do anything for the time difference. I mean, even if the flight is faster.
No, true, but still, it's at least you're not spending as much time in the air.
Yes,
got to help a little bit.
That's very true, because there were only so many movies on the plane to watch, and I can definitely say with almost certainty that I've seen them all.
Anything recent?
Oh yeah, no, they always have like recent stuff up on there. Like I think last trip I watched Beauty and the Beast and Logan.
Oh, there you go. All right.
So and Logan I thought was excellent.
Yeah, right.
Logan was excellent. Beauty and the Beast was okay.
Yeah. But no, Logan was awesome. In fact, I got that black and white Logan Noir, when you buy the Blu-ray.
Yes.
That I want to see.
Yeah, I'm looking. I have to buy that now.
I mean, it's the same movie.
I knew I was
just
going to like
black
it.
and white.
Still, that's got to be kind of
cool. Oh, totally. No, it was a sweet movie. Cool. All right. Well, keeping yourself busy, and you're going to try and maybe one trip you won't hit Super Potato to try and kind of cleanse your palate.
Well, why would I skip Super Potato now when I found 2 of them?
Oh, that is true.
Like, in the same area. So I know I already told you about it, but we haven't discussed it on the podcast, right?
No, we did last week.
Okay. See, this is why I'm so all over the place. Like, I didn't even realize. All right. So wait, I was back in the States last week.
You were. When we recorded, you were right before you flew to Florida, and we had a whole segment about Super Potato.
Oh my God. All right, so then last week. Oh, that's right. Okay, so I went to Vegas. That's right. So, considering the fact that I just got back yesterday from Vegas, this really goes to show you how disoriented I am right now.
Holy cow! That was Vegas.
Vegas was good.
Good.
My first stop, of course, was to a Gamer's Paradise, which is right off the Strip, and that's my retro game store in Vegas.
You're finding retro game stores in every place you go to.
Basically any city I get sent to at this point, it's, my first goal is find a retro game store. I failed in Sarasota, because I went to Sarasota last week also for work. And
well, you probably failed. You were in Sarasota.
Well, I barely managed to find humans. So it was
only one good thing came out of Sarasota, Florida.
That is true. Yes. Rest in peace, Nacho Man. No, but seriously though, Sarasota, where I was, there was really there was nowhere to go. Basically, I was kind of more in a, I don't know what it is, more like an industrial area.
Oh, okay.
Not industrial, but
I know what you're talking about.
There were just a lot more factories and stuff where I was going, so couldn't really find any stores. But Vegas, went to Gamers Paradise. I picked up a handful of games.
Oh, okay.
Which was really cool. It was more like random stuff, like kind of. I mean, the store is awesome. They have like everything, and I posted photos about this store before, but they have display cases with like every video game system from like the Odyssey to
Sweet.
to present day, which is really cool. And I did send you a photo of a Pac-Man arcade, like
yes,
tabletop arcade machine that has like 800 games in it.
Oh, it looked cool. It was like one of those. It was a bar top. It was one of those half size arcade machines. It was just shy under 1,000. And trust me, I was trying to move money around, but it didn't really work out too well.
Well, and I mean, it also comes with a 10-year warranty.
That's what's very interesting. I like that 10-year warranty.
Yeah, so you know, if anything goes wrong in 10 years, you can get it fixed or replaced or refunded. So.
And I get more money, I get more bang for my buck out of that thing, because when I was at actually the first Long Island Retro Expo a couple years ago, they had the cocktail Ms. Pac-Man machine, which is only Ms. Pac-Man, and that was like $900 and something, which was well worth it, because this thing was in very, very good condition. That's only one game.
Yeah, exactly. Well, but you should have gone for that while you had a chance, man.
Honestly, I mean, where am I going to put it? God, I mean, look at this.
Well, I was going to say, you don't need a coffee table, do you?
I guess I could. I don't know. It's my grandfather's kind of kept it in the family, but I guess it's got some wear and tear on it. So
that can go into storage.
A lot of this is going to go into storage pretty soon. I got news for you. I think it's time to start moving some stuff around, and who knows, maybe just a complete upheaval, and see what else is available on Long Island.
Well, don't you dare put any of the video games away. Those are needed.
No, not at all. I feel like it's due for another rearrangement though, because I think I gotta rearrange them to get a better aspect of it.
I think it's time for you to get a bigger place.
That too, and I love this place. Don't get me wrong, but I've definitely purchased myself out of it with all this nonsense that I have in here.
Yeah, I mean. Dude. I mean, the place that I live in right now, I think is maybe 50% bigger than yours, and I'm considering a bigger place because I've outgrown it in terms of stuff.
Yeah, me too.
And a month from now, I'm coming to New York for the Long Island Retro Gaming Expo, and while I'm in New York, I'm actually going to be packing up the rest of my stuff that I left in New York 2 years ago when I moved back here.
Oh man!
And I will be shipping that to LA, and once that gets here, there will basically be no room for me to even live.
You're gonna need to rent a separate apartment just for the stuff. That's what I gotta do.
Yeah, more or less, or a storage unit or something. But yeah, I once that gets here, I will have definitely, sadly, outgrown this place.
All right, be on the lookout for that. Look out! So if you see a couple of the retro gamers out on the street with all their stuff, it means they've completely been moved out of their apartment
or evicted. I'm leaning towards the eviction will happen first.
Probably right. Game systems. I mean, I got some room for a couple of new ones, like the Xbox One X. I'm already seeing where I can put. I'll just replace the Xbox One with the One X at that point.
So you were officially getting the One X?
Oh, totally. What are you kidding me? Come on now.
That's true.
It also gives me an excuse to get a 4K television, which are really cheap right now.
Yes, I've noticed. That means that there's a new one coming out soon.
4th of July space. Hey, happy 4th of July. That's right. This thing's dropping on the 4th of July.
Happy Independence Day.
Happy birthday, America. All right.
Happy birthday, America. We're going to do what Americans do best. Spend money.
Yes. And hopefully have a lot of hot dogs and hamburgers.
Oh, yeah, I guess I got to do that too.
So, but the biggest thing right now, because before the Xbox One X comes out, I got to figure out to make room for a small, tiny, little new system that, probably a half hour after we recorded last week's episode, Nintendo decided to drop the news officially?
Yes.
It was so quick.
I know. We knew it was coming too, so... And maybe it was their response to the Sega Forever announcement, the Atari new console announcement. It's like, I guess they were kind of like, we have to get out there and make this announcement to make everybody forget about those other things.
Honestly, right? And to somehow forget about the debacle of the NES Classic. Yeah,
I don't think anybody's going to forget the debacle of the NES Classic, and I really hope Nintendo remembers what a debacle that was. So far, you know what? And again, we're talking about the SNES Classic, which will be coming out. But Nintendo already came out and said that it will only be on shelf for 3 months in the U.S. So before anybody even starts complaining about it, at least they've gotten ahead of it and said, here you go.
Yes.
It'll be on shelves from October through December. Get it while you can. That's it.
Yeah, putting it out on Front Street is definitely what they have to do. And they've already also gone on record saying that they plan on producing more than they probably would have because of what happened with the NES Classic. But yes, it is already a limited run, and apparently already they're going on sale for hundreds and hundreds of dollars.
Oh yeah, eBay's already got eBay already has like sellers on there that have already somehow managed to get pre-orders for it, and they've already uppriced it.
It's amazing. I mean, the only way right now the Super Nintendo Classic Edition is on pre-order, which is sold out at this point. The pre-order, that is, was for some reason Nintendo of UK had on their website a pre-order for their version of the Super Nintendo because theirs was designed a little differently than ours, which is kind of a cool looking system. But yeah, no, they had theirs on pre-sale, and that's the only way I can imagine they're actually trying to get away. The scalpers are getting away with the pre-sale. But let's face facts. It's the scalpers that really ruined it. I mean, think about all those NES classics are probably still out there that people are still trying to hawk for hundreds and hundreds of dollars. If it wasn't for the scalpers, I don't think there'd be as much of a problem. But it's amazing they've already jumped on board for the Super Nintendo, already trying to sell it.
Yeah, well, and they're hoping that people will fall for it, and
people will.
be like, oh, well, you know what, this will guarantee me one. Whereas, if they're going to be making more consoles, granted, we don't know how many they're going to be making, but it at least gives people an opportunity to get their hands on it. So I would just, tell everybody who's, antsy and did not get an NES Classic like me, to just, wait and see if you can get a pre-order down. If not, September 29th is the day it comes out, and do yourself the disservice of getting in line super early outside of a store somewhere.
I will probably be there.
As will I. I've already got my store picked out.
Yeah, and I already got my day off from work because that is a Friday. And I already feel something like I'm coming down with something. You feeling a little flush?
Okay. Yeah, I feel like it's gestating and it won't pop out until around late September. So
I hate when that happens.
I know, I hate it too. With my luck, I'll be in Japan.
Oh no! Hey, then you get the Japanese version. That's a cool looking little system too.
Yeah, which I wouldn't mind having, but I would like one of my little classics to be American, just to be selfish. I don't want to play Star Fox 2 in Japanese.
This is true, and let's get right into it. So here's the stats of this little bad boy. Again, it's a mini version of the Super Nintendo, as we all love and grew up with. This time around, here's some differences. It's going to be $79.99 for the system. It comes with 2 controllers, Super Nintendo controllers. So big time on that because a lot of these games are 2-player. And like the NES, the Super NES controllers are compatible with the Wii and the Wii U, so you can use them if you've already downloaded some other Virtual Console games.
And that's really cool.
Yeah, no, that's because I love using the NES one on the Virtual Console. So let's see what else it's got. It's got 21 games, and that's an odd number, and we'll tell you why in a moment. But 21 games. The NES Classic had 30. But you know what? These are bigger games, bigger graphics, more.
Yeah, they really are.
More involved, these games. So I think 21, and that doesn't bother me that there's less number of games on this one than on the NES.
And what are the games?
Let's talk about the games. So here's the list. We're just going to rifle them off here. Super Mario World.
Of course, that needs to be on.
Oh, yeah.
There's no question about that.
Right. I mean, I'm going to tell you, there's really not a dud in this list, to be honest with you. Super Mario.
I'll be the judge of that.
Super Mario Kart.
Also one of my favorite games.
Oh yeah, I think it was voted like the best kart racing game ever, or somewhere. I forgot where I read that.
As it should be, because to be honest with you, it started the whole thing.
Absolutely. The Legend of Zelda: Link to the Past.
Yes, one of my. I always go back and forth between Link to the Past and Ocarina of Time as my favorite Zelda game.
Yeah, you're right. I think, but because they're 2 different eras, I feel like they can somewhat stand alone. But you're right; it's very tough. They're very neck and neck. Mm-hmm. So, F-Zero.
Oh yes, I'm not a big racing game person, but I got to say Mario Kart and F-Zero were like the two that I loved the most.
And it's been a while since we saw anything from F-Zero.
Very true. I think GameCube was the last one.
Probably. Super Metroid.
Yes, a game that I never played.
I started playing it. You'll love it. Trust me, you'll definitely love it.
Oh, good! I can't wait.
Street Fighter 2 Turbo.
Yes. Well, I'm really happy that they threw a Street Fighter on there.
Oh, totally, right? You have to. For Super Nintendo, you have to.
Yeah, and Turbo was the one I remember more than the original Street Fighter because it really... I think a lot of people did because when that came out in the arcade, it was awesome.
Oh, absolutely. Super Punch-Out.
Also a great option.
Yeah.
I think, it just makes me think of how Mike Tyson's... I just always think of Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. That was my favorite, but Super Punch-Out was just as good.
I remember Super Punch-Out was a add-on game for, I think, Fight Night Round 2 for the GameCube.
Oh, wow.
I actually had the full game on it, yeah. Super Castlevania 4.
I'm sure you're going to love that one.
I do, yes. Donkey Kong Country.
Which is awesome. Turned Donkey Kong into the hero that he should have always been.
Yeah, and they really, apparently. I mean, and the way those graphics were, that kind of pseudo 3D background, like the way they played off those graphics was phenomenal.
Yeah, that game actually looked like it didn't belong.
No, not at all.
The Super Nintendo.
Not at
all. It
all.
really didn't.
Mega Man X.
Mega Man.
Yep. Kirby Superstar, excuse me.
Now, I have never played a Kirby game.
Yeah, and it's weird because there's actually 2 Kirby games on this, which I find kind of weird. So Kirby Superstar is 8 games in one. It's kind of like just not mini games, but it's not really just a standalone linear Kirby game. So,
and if I had to pick one on the list where I was kind of like, which one can you live with that on the system? And I've never played it, so it's tough to judge. Like I would take one of the Kirbys off.
Okay. Speaking of Kirby's Dream Course,
which I heard was an excellent game.
Yes, very, very good. Final Fantasy 3.
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to that. Actually, I just had a conversation a few days ago with our good old pal Frankie.
Uh-huh.
Our biggest fan of the podcast, and he was asking me which Final Fantasy he wanted to start with, and I told him, I said, well, I go, if you want to go back to the consoles and not like the PlayStation, or back to the earliest consoles, I told him, I go to Final Fantasy 3. I was like, because that one was one of the best ones ever made, or arguably the best one ever made. Agreed. So between that and 7. You can't go wrong. But since 7 is getting a new release, I told him to go to 3.
And just confuse him with all the numbers.
Well, yeah, exactly. I said go with 3 because you're going to want to buy the new 7 when it comes out, as will I.
Super Mario World 2, Yoshi's Island.
I think that was one of the only Super Mario platform kind of games that I haven't played.
Really? It's a good one.
Yeah, I never played that one.
It's definitely I mean, it led to a whole new genre of games for Yoshi, but it was definitely different enough to make it very fun.
Yeah, and I own it for the Super Famicom. I picked it up on one of my many Super Potato trips, so I need to sit down and play that.
Sweet. Super Mario RPG, Legend of the Seven Stars.
I loved
that game. Was
absolutely
amazing.
Did you beat it?
I did, yes.
Oh, good. Okay, so you actually did. You beat a game. One of the few. Yeah, that game was just worth playing all the way through. And there's a character in that game that never appeared in the Mario universe again. Do you remember Gino, the doll?
Oh,
the blue Mr. Doll. They never used that character again. And I want that's one of the biggest questions I've always had for Nintendo because everybody loved that character. And I want to know why he never showed up anywhere again.
Maybe he's better off. Not don't get spoiled by the spotlight.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Contra 3, The Alien Wars.
Oh yeah, that's right up your alley.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to now that I got 1 and 2 in the vault. Looks like 3 is gonna be my next one to try and beat as far as the Contra series. So I'm looking forward to that.
And you also have the Famicom version on your way.
Well, the original Contra, yes, I can't wait. Yes. I cannot wait. Secret of Mana. That
was a game I always wanted to play but never did.
Same here.
So it's I can't really talk about it because I don't remember enough. But
It was a good RPG. I heard.
yeah, it was an RPG. So I'm gonna hold off obviously until this console comes out, and if I get my hands on it, that might be the first game I try out.
Earthbound.
Earthbound is another game that I never played, and I always wanted to.
Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yes, for those of you who like dying a lot, anybody out there who loves like a game like Dark Souls, you revel in the fact that you lose all the time. This is the game for you.
Ghosts and Goblins series has always been notorious for their difficulty level on normal, like not even hard difficulty, just normal.
Yeah, basically they just don't want you getting through the first level.
Pretty much, it's almost like a gauntlet style type gameplay. As far as keep losing, but there's no quarters to put in. Star Fox.
Star Fox, of course, one of the best.
Definitely with that Super FX chip. And rounding out game number 21, and this was such a smart decision, I think, on Nintendo's part to sell this unit. And I feel like almost this was maybe like a last-minute ad after the whole debacle of the NES Classic. Like, we need something really to get these people out there to buy the Super Nintendo Classic. For the first time ever, publicly released, official release, I should say, of Star Fox 2.
Yeah, I don't know if Nintendo was necessarily... Yeah, I don't know if this was in response to the whole NES Classic issue or if it was just hey, here's a great way we can sell these things super fast. Because I honestly think it was going to sell regardless. But it's a really smart play on Nintendo's part since the game was like completed when it got shelved. It was more or less done.
Yeah, right.
So.
I mean, it's leaked. Some people have some copies, but this is the first time it's actually officially being released. And I remember reading about it in like Nintendo Power and stuff. So,
yeah. So, and I agree with you. Like, I honestly think this is a really smart play on their part because, I mean, everybody gets an opportunity to play a game they've never played before. Exactly. So, if you've played every other game on the console, here's one that you haven't.
So, with the $80 price tag, I mean, if you put it into perspective. You get an extra controller, which would have been maybe like $10 anyway. You're getting a whole brand new game. You know what? $80? I'm worth it.
No, I agree with that.
Yeah.
I mean, you're talking about, just even if you're just counting the games, I mean, it's about $4 a game.
Oh yeah.
You'll pay more for that on the Virtual Console if you downloaded every single one of these.
And again, that's what I was kind of pricing out because, like before with the Nintendo, I own literally half of the games on the NES Classic, but it would have cost me like $90 to buy the other 15 games. Just better off buying the system. On this one, I mean, I got 1, 2, 3, 4. 5. I probably got like half of them. But it's still going to be worth it to get for Star Fox 2, to get the Super Nintendo controllers, and of course just to have the system for the sake of having.
Yeah, there's no question about it. This is like this is a must-own, and for all my grips and gripes regarding the NES Classic and being bitter at Nintendo, obviously I will still be in line trying to get this thing. But if I don't get this one, I am booking a flight to Seattle and going to talk to some people.
This you kind of hit the nail on the head in my opinion for all the gripes that everyone had for the NES, for those who didn't get the NES, and for those like, oh, Nintendo blah blah blah. And I'm not saying you, I'm not saying Anthony from a couple of weeks ago, the madman that he is, but like just in general, say what you want about Nintendo, say what you want about the NES. People will be online, both literally out in the stores and figuratively on their computers, to get their hands on this thing.
Yep, that Amazon, one button purchasing is going to be used, really quickly on September 29th.
And remember, only one console per person. So I plan on, if I'm not waiting online, or even if I do wait online physically, I may have to have my phone ready with Amazon and GameStop ready to go. May have to get a couple of units just in case. I know my godson's going to want one, so.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I know so many people that want it already, and I'm like, okay. I was like, then you got to be willing to you really have to be willing to make one of those little sacrifices, like a day off of work, or or like you said, just sitting in front of your computer with like every major retailer lined up, ready to hit refresh. So when it goes on sale, it's like, don't plan on sleeping the night before, basically. Okay.
Absolutely. And now here's just real quick. If you look, I don't know if you're looking at the actual system, the actual picture of the NES Classic. Excuse me, of the Super Nintendo Classic. So, I got to imagine the power button will probably slide up and down. The eject button, I don't know if they'll be able to use that as just kind of a novelty. I'm sure the slot there won't open. But the Super Nintendo controllers, for them to work with the Wii remote, they got to have that special plug like the NES Classic controllers do. Where are you going to plug it in? Because the front of the Super Nintendo has the original like input for the controllers. When I first saw this, I thought they were going to release the Super Nintendo with the original controllers. Like, if you had one at home, you can just plug it right into this Super Nintendo Classic. So I'm curious, where the heck are you going to plug in the controllers?
Well, I'm wondering if the controllers have an adapter, so you can plug them into the...
I feel like if they did, they would have mentioned it in the thing, because it says here Super NES Classic Edition is compatible with the Classic Controller and Classic Controller Pro accessories, and those are from the Wii and the Wii U respectively, which have that special plug attachment, if you will, that the Wii and the Wii U have had since they've debuted.
Yeah, to be honest, I don't have it. Oh, you know what it might be? It might be the other way around, Larry. It might be that there might be a slot like in the back of this thing. So the ones that you bought for the Wii U or for your Switch or whatever it is may plug into this console.
All right. We'll see.
As opposed to these controllers plugging into the next-gen consoles or the current-gen consoles.
I gotcha. All right. Well,
yeah, you may just have it reversed. Because, looking at the front of it, it looks like it's the classic plug-in for a Super Nintendo controller, which makes me wonder if my original Super Nintendo controllers will work on this thing.
That's what I'm saying. I think that's just, honestly, I hate to say it, I think that's just for nostalgic purposes. Like, the way the NES Classic was, like, with the new controller setup, it just made it kind of integrate. It looked like the original setup. I feel like maybe, like, the front panel may come off, or... You gotta, not front panel, but maybe like those pieces pop off or something, and it reveals
that's possible as well.
So, but we will see. Time will tell as September 29th, as it creeps its way to us.
Yes, we will find out on September 29th if we get our hands on them.
All right, well, with this new game, Star Fox 2, that's coming out for the Super Nintendo Classic, I have a feeling we may need to learn a little bit more about it.
Well, it's funny you should say that, Larry, as if this isn't set up in any way, shape, or form. But
as if we're not now having meetings about the shows.
Yeah, kind of the funny thing about planning these things, right? You can't make anything sound spontaneous anymore. So, but I'll try my best. Well, it's funny you should bring that up, Larry, because this week's Retro Spotlight will focus on Star Fox 2.
Yes, all right. Let's learn some stuff about a game none of us have ever played.
That is correct. So Star Fox 2, obviously, is a sequel to the original Star Fox on the Super Nintendo. As everybody knows, if you've heard our last segment or have been reading up on the SNES Classic, Star Fox 2 will be released for the first time ever since it was completed 22 years ago.
Wow.
This game was originally slated to be released in 1995. But it was canceled. It was canceled right before it was being released.
Really?
Which brings the first question to my mind: are there cartridges of this somewhere?
Good question.
I wonder if cartridges were actually created before they decided to cancel the release. But only Nintendo can answer that question. Anyway, game was supposed to come out in 1995. It was canceled because of the plans to release the Nintendo 64, and Nintendo wanted their consumers' focus on the new system. Not only that, but also the fact that they were planning a Star Fox game for the N64, so they didn't want Star Fox 2 coming out shortly before Star Fox 64 came out. So I think this is, and that was the main decision for canceling the release of this game.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, and also part of it was they were using a more advanced, more advanced technology for Star Fox 2.
Really? More advanced
that I
than Star
think,
Fox?
yes.
Wow.
So, they were using a more advanced 3D game engine because they had they had improved what their Super FX GSU chip in in their games.
Okay.
And I think what they did is they just took that technology and rolled it over to Star Fox 64. So again, it was going to be, they thought it was just going to be like duplicating efforts. Now, Nintendo today doesn't seem to have an issue doing that. If you look at like Super Mario, Mario Kart for the Wii U, how it just got released on the Switch.
Oh yeah,
it's basically it's basically the same game that it was 3 years ago with some upgrades to it. And I'm like, and to be honest with you, I mean, I own both of them. I thought the Switch version is great with the upgrades and everything like that, but Nintendo's not a stranger to just re-releasing things with a little more shine on them. So. But I guess back in the 90s, that was a serious concern of theirs. So the Star Fox 2, the gameplay was actually a lot different than the original Star Fox. So in the original Star Fox, you basically followed a linear path of missions, right? You start one mission and you go to the next and you go to the next and you go to the next, right?
Correct.
All right. So in Star Fox 2, the objective so you were able to switch perspectives and control where you went. So basically, if you remember how Star Fox 64 went, where you had decisions of like pathways to go, like that's kind of how this worked. So
that's interesting. I wonder then, because like you said, they kind of moved on to the N64. Now I'm wondering, how similar will Star Fox 2 be to Star Fox 64?
Well, no, I think it's not. Star Fox 64 had a more it still had a linear story. You just had several options to go. This was a little more free range.
Oh,
so,
okay.
So you basically all right. So the basic objective of the game was to beat all of the enemy forces on the map while defending planet Corneria, because that's your planet, right?
Yep.
So the map showed you all the areas that you needed to go to fight. So you just chose which order you did them.
I gotcha. Almost like Mega Man.
Yeah, a bit like Mega Man. So it's like here are all the levels. Choose the ones that you want to beat in the order you want to beat them in. Whereas Star Fox 64. It was kind of a linear path, but in certain places it branched, so you got to choose which direction to go in. Do you remember that?
No, I do.
Did you play Star Fox 64?
Yeah, I had it.
Yeah. So Star Fox 2 a little bit different. So you just got to freely choose where you wanted to go.
Oh, cool.
Which was cool.
Yeah.
And then let's see, it was Star Fox 2 employed what they called a semi-real-time game system. So when you selected a destination on the map screen, the game would pause, but then while the player's ship traveled to the destination, enemies and missiles would move towards that location.
Oh, wow.
And then while you're fighting everybody, like the timer on the thing would count at a slower pace on the map screen. So more enemies can advance and attack you.
Oh, man. That's... Wow.
Yeah, so it's interesting. And it'll be interesting to play in a few months when it comes out on the SNES Classic.
Yeah, man.
That's hard to say.
Yeah, no, it doesn't really roll off the tongue like NES Classic,
Is it easier if we just call it SNES?
No, I hate when people say SNES. That used to drive me nuts.
Well, because saying SNES fast is a tongue twister.
It's SNES. It's like saying TMNT, SNES.
No, TMNT. Yeah, it is. And unfortunately, with that one, you can't really say anything. All right, so the SNES Classic.
Damn it.
Also included in Star Fox 2, there is a 2-player split-screen dual mode.
Ooh.
So, again, thankfully, the SNES Classic is coming out with 2 controllers, so you can play that dual mode. A
That's
couple
cool.
other things to note about Star Fox 2 is that if you remember in Star Fox there were 4 characters, right?
Mm-hmm.
And one you basically played as Star Fox and you had your support system. You had Falco, Peppy, and the ever popular Slippy, the lovely androgynous Slippy. But did anybody ever solve that question?
Not that I know of.
All right. So in Star Fox 2, there are 2 new characters. There is Faye, a white dog in a blue suit.
Okay.
And Miyu, which is, and this is just the description of the character I'm reading online. Miyu, a tomboyish lynx in a red suit.
Okay.
Okay.
I don't think I've ever seen pictures of these. I have to check those out.
Yep. And according to this, though, Star Fox 2 features 6 playable characters, which means you can play as any of 6.
Huh. Okay.
So that's kind of cool.
That's very cool. Yeah, that gives it diversity, big time.
It definitely gives it diversity. Some more information about the game. The game was definitely to your point, Larry. You talked about reading about this in like Nintendo Power and stuff like that. Mm-hmm. It was extensively covered by game magazines at the time, and it had screenshots. And there was a playable version exhibited at the 1995 Winter Consumer Electronics Expo. So they were doing all the promoting and everything for this before they decided to cancel it. And that's why like there's a lot of information about the game out there, but not the official game. Now granted, there were leaks and ROMs and stuff like that wound up out there, but surprisingly not as much as you would think. Like you would think like a completed game would have a lot like would have leaked online to a more extensive nature at this point. But it did not, which is good. Well, and that's what makes the SNES Classic release of it really, really good. So
you're going to annoy the hell out of me with that, aren't you?
Yeah, just for a little while.
Fair enough.
I'm too tired to say SNES any faster than the way I just said it right now.
It's like when people say Super Smash
like a
Bros.
Robot.
Yeah.
Yes. But it makes me sound like a robot when I talk about the SNES. So yeah, exactly. Just call me Rob. So when the Wii's Virtual Console came out, a lot of consumers were asking if Star Fox 2 would get released for that. To which point Nintendo said no, and then the Wii U, and they said it just like that. They were like, no,
yeah.
And then the Wii U console, same thing. They were never planning on releasing this until the announcement of the SNES Classic. So it's really interesting that they're finally giving in and getting opportunity to play that. Now, according to some of the programmers of Star Fox 2, they said some of the elements made for the game, like the camera programs, were actually reused developed Super Mario 64.
Really? Huh.
Yeah, so the technology in Star Fox 2 actually did make its way to a console game, but it was Super Mario 64. And in addition, Shigeru Miyamoto said that about 30% of the Star Fox 64 game came from Star Fox 2. So it's part of the other reason why they probably decided to shelf it, because they were pulling from it to create stuff for the N64.
Wow, that's interesting. So I mean, a good chunk of it is part of Star Fox 64 then. I wonder, like, when we start to play Star Fox 2, I wonder how much of it will be reminiscent and remind us of Star Fox 64. That'll be interesting.
Yeah, there will definitely be some pieces to it. So, the examples they gave here were like the all-range mode and the multiplayer mode were parts of Star Fox 2 that wound up in Star Fox 64. Okay. And I'm guessing, some of the story beats, because Star Fox 2 is about defending Corneria against Andross, which is the enemy in Star Fox 64. So, so there are definitely going to be a few pieces that seem similar, but I don't think I don't think it's going to be that extensive.
No, I'm not saying it's going to be like a mirror image, but I'm sure like there'll be a couple parts every now and again we play and be like, oh, I remember that from N64. Just be interesting.
Yeah, agreed. So, I mean, aside from what I said, Star Fox 2 will be available on September 29, 2017 as part of the SNES Classic. So if you want to get your hands on it, you know what to do. And that is this week's Retro Spotlight on Star Fox 2.
Sweet. So, I forgot to mention earlier in the episode, last week, right after we were done recording, I went to the local flea market out here on Long Island.
I saw the photos.
Towns over. Yeah, there was a lot of cool stuff there as usual. Just people selling some games. I'm always a little wary about buying games from flea markets because whether or not they work or not. But I guess that's kind of the part of the lore of buying something from a flea market or a swap meet. They had a nice top-loading NES, which was pretty cool. A little overexpensive, but pretty cool.
Yeah, I did see that. You texted me about it, and I thought it was way overpriced.
Yeah, it was, yeah, because it was what did I say? I think it was like $145 for the top-loading NES, which came with all the plugs, came with the Super Mario Brothers Duck Hunt combo game, and then came with an NES, the redesigned NES controller, the what they call it, the dog bone NES controller.
Yes, dog bone controller. Yes, a
zapper and like an NES Turbo. But for $145, you know the zapper's not going to work because zapper does not work on modern televisions.
Right.
The turbo controller just looked wonky. It just didn't look like it was going to work, period. And then you said with all that coming out, and then they have the used to be called the Retro Blocks. Well, they've rebranded themselves as Polymega, so be on the lookout for that. Polymega is the one that's going to have all the different systems in it. So it was a lot of cool stuff. I didn't buy anything at the flea market, but I was walking back to my car with my buddy, and we found kind of like this small comic book store, which we never knew was in the area. They've been open for a year, so go figure. So we went in. Guy had a lot.
That's very perceptive of you guys.
Well, I'm usually not in that part of town, but it was pretty cool. Had a lot of nice stuff in the like comic books, some sweet comic books, graded comic books, in the glass Tsuzawazi, some pop vinyl, some people playing Magic, I think it was, in the back of the store. And then the guy brought us into the back of the store where all the porno comics were. To be honest with you, that was a little weird. But just sitting on a shelf, just randomly, just sitting there. I thought, it was in the back of the store. And I'm like, he's like, everything here is for sale. So I'm like, how about this video game? He's like, yeah, sure. So I picked up, really for no other reason than it's just in really nice condition, $5, Defender of the Crown for NES.
Nice.
Obscure game. Really, I mean, it's very medieval. Yeah, I can say that. Like medieval times.
Close enough.
What am I Renaissance, that's what I'm trying to say, Renaissance.
Yes.
So it's from Ultra Games, and I'm showing Anthony right now the box. I did put pictures on this on our Instagram page, _Retro
the box
Gamers.
Is in great shape.
Oh, yeah.
Box is in awesome shape.
Wait till you see this, though. So you open it up, and this is when I really was like, you know what? I think I'm going to buy this. I mean, just look at the cart.
Wow. Does it have the instruction booklet, too?
Yeah, instruction booklet's in there as well. I mean, the cart
that looks like it's never been played.
Damn near mint. $5. I'm like, I'm in. So
very nice. That's a good find.
Yeah, pick that up, add it to the old collection. So
cool. Very cool.
I mean, one day I'll play.
Yeah, you know my affinity for buying games in their original boxes. Yeah. I love any opportunity that I can get games in their original boxes.
I like
What?
What? Huh?
Oh no, I was gonna say I picked up a couple while I was in Las Vegas.
Oh yes, I saw the Shadow of the Empire. I enjoyed that one. What was the other one that you bought in box?
Oh, the Tecmo World Wrestling for NES.
That looked good. I like the tagline here for Defender of the Crown on the back of the box. To survive this nightmare, KNIGHTMARE.
Oh, gotta love the pun.
Your mind better be as sharp as your sword.
Ooh,
so I'll check that out.
I think you may owe our listeners a live stream of that game.
One day, if I get the Polymega when that thing goes on Kickstarter, game on.
Awesome, but that's a really good find. It's nice when you stumble upon little finds here
Gems
and there.
Right? Yeah, it
makes me happy.
Oh, pretty sweet. And
You know what doesn't make me happy though?
what?
Stupid people who are looking for Virtual Boys.
I'm looking for a Virtual Boy. How dare you?
I told you I found quite a few at Super Potato in Japan. If you wanted it,
I feel like even if I said yes, you still wouldn't put it on your credit card.
no, absolutely not. My credit card would. I told you my credit cards would automatically reject said purchase.
And the Virtual Boy may have failed, but at least it wasn't defective. It worked.
That is true.
It worked.
No, that's true. Well, it worked for some people.
Listen, that's
for other people. It was a complete sham because they couldn't see the 3D.
Well, you gotta.
It also didn't help for the people who suffer from migraines because in like 10 seconds the thing would kill you.
But again, at least it still worked. But there are 10 systems that apparently did not work too well, and that's what we're going to talk about right now. Our buddy Josh over there, Victims and Villains, sent us.
Hey, Josh.
Yeah, what's going on, buddy? Got our Castlevania crossover coming up soon.
Yes.
And so he sent us a link to WatchMojo, which is a great site on YouTube. I'll put the link in the description for the show here. They do a lot of good top 10s. And, of course, as always, we'll throw it out. The top 10 is up to viewers' discretion.
Always debatable.
Yep, always debatable. But this one is the top 10 defective video game accessories, systems, whatever you want to call it. So this is right from WatchMojo, and me and Ant, we're going to give our 2 cents and see what we have about this. So here we go. Number 10, and this one I remember seeing in the store, and then, of course, made famous a little bit later by the Angry Video Game Nerd, who made a couple of these, actually, pretty famous. The Rollin' Rocker.
Oh, my God. That was just the weirdest thing, I think. One of the weirdest things they ever came out with. It made no sense to me.
None whatsoever. It was like a surfboard, but like a squared-off surfboard sitting on like a half basketball. It's the only way I can describe this stupid thing.
Yeah, it was basically like, you know where I've seen something like that? I've seen something like that, well, now as an adult. When I go to physical therapy, it's like a balance board.
Very true.
It's the same exact, it's the very same thing. It's to help strengthen your balance. I mean, Nintendo for some odd reason decided this would be, it was Nintendo, right?
No, they didn't. No, there's only I think one, maybe 2 first-party peripherals. I forgot who put out Rollin' Rocker.
Okay, well, whoever put it out thought it was a great idea to be like, it's this item that people use to recover from injury, and I'm gonna make it a video game controller.
And like the idea was, you stand on it, and as it says, you rock back and forth to move your character. But here's some of the defects on it. First of all, I think the weight limit was only like 100 and something pounds, which was fine when you're little, but as you got older, you wouldn't be able to use the system.
I don't think they cared about you getting older. I think that was they only cared about you buying it.
And the biggest thing was, so it was supposed to replace the controller, but you still needed to plug the controller into the Rollin' Rocker because you still had to use the A and B buttons on the controller.
Yeah, basically the rock and roller was only for direction. It basically replaced the D-pad,
which was right there on the controller anyway, as you're using it to hit the A and B buttons. So
exactly. So completely useless.
Yeah. So Rollin' Rocker, nice knowing you. Number 9. This it's tough to call it defective because it has a place in all our hearts. Rob. The robot.
No. There's no question about it. Rob was defective.
Oh,
come on.
I mean, mine worked. I didn't remember having too much of a problem with
No,
Rob.
I remember it working. Do you also remember how long it took?
Oh, it was ridiculously slow. Yes, some of those spinning gyros probably stopped spinning by the time it moved around. It's true.
I mean, yeah, that thing took forever. Like a game that should only take you. And when you played it with your regular controller, because you were able to play Gyromite with your regular controller if you needed to, it would take half a second, on the controller to press the button and have a reaction. For Rob, you're sitting there for like 30 seconds waiting for him to move this damn thing over, so you can move a pipe up and down. It was like. And when you're a kid, I mean, that just feels like forever. It
does. No, it really, really does. I mean, yes, you could have used it. It replaced the second player because you could have used the second player controller on Gyromite to move the red and blue pipe. So that's what it had to give that aspect of Rob helping you. And there was only 2 games made for it, Gyromite and Stack Up. So
Yeah, exactly. I mean, even Nintendo realized that they had a stinker on their hands because they only made 2 games for it and called it a day.
But Rob made his comeback in Super Smash Brothers, and I got a couple of Amiibo Rob robots, so it still has a place in all our hearts.
Yes, and in a bad place.
Number 8, the Voice Recognition Unit, the VRU. This was for the N64, and you may remember it because it was only available for, 2 games, but only one really that came out in the U.S. Hey
Yep.
You Pikachu.
Oh, yes, I remember that because Pokemon was, of course, still at its height at the time. So they were like, what else can we do to sucker people into buying games? And Hey You Pikachu, that VMU, or VRU, I'm sorry. I witnessed somebody using that once, and it was painful.
Oh, really? Was it an adult
yeah.
or a kid that used it?
It was a kid.
Okay, here's why. Because it only worked for 2 games, like we mentioned, Hey You Pikachu, which came out in 2000, and a game from Japan. Here we go.
Good luck.
Denosha Dego 2 Kosaku Hon. I think that's more my handwriting. Which came out in 1999. But
wow, that hurts.
You spoke into the system. It plugged into the rumble pack or the memory pack section of the controller. Had a yellow microphone come out the top. But the reason why it was also bad because it only recognized high-pitched voices, which typically are children.
Yeah, but what happens if the kid is a bass?
I think that may be a whole medical problem from there on in. But, I mean, not saying like super high-pitched, but, as you got older, as your voice changed, it stopped working, supposedly.
Yeah. So, for all of you out there, just so you know, the VRU was great until you hit puberty.
Which I guess a lot of video games were in life.
Yeah, well, some of us apparently never learned.
Not at all. Number 7. Again, another one that has like a special place, but still was wonky. The Power Glove.
Oh, the only reason why that has a special place is because of the Wizard movie.
Oh, stupid Lucas.
I love the Power Glove. It's so bad.
Yes, there you go. Man, was he right. He was the only one apparently that got the sensors to work properly with the television and the Power Glove. And I remember desperately trying to use it on Rad Racer after seeing that movie.
Well, yeah, I mean, in Hollywood we call that movie magic.
So you tell me then how to get the Power Glove to work.
It's very simple. You set up a camera, right? And then you film yourself using the Power Glove. And then you superimpose the game into the footage in post-production where the game is actually reacting to how your hand is moving. And voila, your Power Glove works.
Or maybe someone off camera during the filming of the movie just playing the game with the regular controller.
That could work too.
The Power Glove, I remember the Power Glove. I was as I am as an adult, I was a larger child. Growing up, I thought Husky was a brand. That's how bad I was, and that's the God honest truth.
They are a basketball team.
But I remember getting the Power Glove, but it was too small. Like even the large size was a little too small for me. So every time I used it, the tips of my fingers would start to go numb. So I couldn't really play it for long. And then eventually I just cut the wire off of it and just used it as like hey, I have a super Power Glove when I would play by myself.
What is it with you and owning all the defective Nintendo products?
I don't know. I was only a child and I asked for them, and
I get Rob Power Glove.
Well, Rob came with the
Boy.
system.
I mean, the list goes on and on.
Virtual Boy, I think. Did I buy the Virtual Boy myself? Or that may have been for Christmas. My poor grandfather may have spent all that money on the Virtual Boy.
Yeah, and I hope he haunts you for it.
Probably. Number 6, the Atari Mind Link.
Oh my God! You want to talk about one of the weirdest things you've ever seen in your life? Look up the Atari Mind Link and just read through that information.
I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I never heard of the Mind Link until this video, and then I looked into it. So it is what it sounds like. It was to use the what they call it, the myoneural signal voltage from your head to control games with your mind. Now, in layman's terms, you basically had to move your forehead up and down. Like, you had to, what do they call it? Furl your brow? When you
Yeah, basically.
Move your eyebrows.
You moved your brow up and down
Yeah.
to indicate movement.
So you do that, people's eyebrow, and probably your controller, like your character spins in a circle or something, who knows.
Basically, the bottom line is, though, I mean, you weren't using your mind. You were using the muscles in your head.
Sure were. And 3 games came out for it. 3 games were created for it, but never saw. They were all canceled for obvious reasons.
Because the mind link was dumb.
Honestly.
And you know what? You didn't need to wear the controller to read anybody's mind for that either.
Bionic Breakthrough, which actually would have sounded like fun to play. Mind Maze and Telepathy. Telepathy? Yeah, Telepathy. So Telepathy was one of the name of the games. It was weird. It looked like, because there's video of it, you just were going up the screen and like you had to move left and right to get to the section to be able to move up to the next row. So I feel like that was the first game that came out. It was canceled because a lot of the test runs, people were getting headaches for obvious reasons.
Yeah, because you're not supposed to, you're not supposed to furrow your brow repeatedly.
Honestly,
especially when you have a hardware on your head.
I feel like headache is a common side effect to a lot of these.
Yeah, for good reason. I mean, just look at what these things do. Well, the headache and apparently, potential carpal tunnel syndrome if that power glove lived on your hand.
That is true. Number 5, the Sega Activator.
I remember the commercials for that.
So do I.
And I remember wanting it because I wanted to play Mortal Kombat with it.
Yes, it was all. It really. I mean, it wasn't linked to Mortal Kombat, but all the commercials I think featured Mortal Kombat. So you kind of, when you thought of the Activator, you thought of Mortal Kombat, and for a little while, vice versa.
Yes, and I also remember in some of the ads a guy in a business suit playing in the Activator.
I think I remember that.
And yeah, I remember that, and I remember that was one of the things that turned me off to it because I was like, oh man, I was like, wait, old people are gonna play with this thing? No, I don't want it.
It looked like a little mini octagon, and it had our sensors coming up because it sat on the floor, and just basically when you moved your arm and your feet, it would break the sensors and it would move the character on the screen. So, as with a lot of these things, here's the problem with the Activator. If you had anything on the ceiling, and I mean like literally anything, lights were on the ceiling, it would completely throw off the sensors on the Activator and just would not work.
Yeah, see, things like that shouldn't get made. It's just that simple. It's like if you're making something like that and you realize, oh wait a minute, anything could interfere with this thing. Don't release it.
Now, in a kind of a related story to that, the Xbox Kinect.
Oh, yes.
My apartment used to, when I first moved in, it was beige. Almost like your color of your walls there.
Okay.
Beige. I painted it blue, A, just to get some freshness in here, but B, because I was going to buy a Kinect, and I knew it would not work on the beige walls and me being very pale. So I had the apartment painted blue to buy a Kinect, which I never did. But that's one of the reasons why my apartment's blue.
That is probably one of the worst reasons I've ever heard for painting a room.
One of. Same reason when I moved in to the infamous apartment that we all at one point lived in.
Oh, yes, that one.
Completely rearranged the furniture, mostly to get more, because it was a long apartment. I mean, you gotta just, it was long, so it wasn't, between the two walls wasn't a lot. And the way you guys had it set up, you would have the television and like 3 feet in front of you was the couch. So I moved it to put it on a corner and an angle, and Verdi's like, oh, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just rearranging furniture. It took him like 2 days to realize I was doing it because of the Wii, and I needed more room for the Wii remote to get some activity on the Wii remote.
Well, hey, look, you know what? Gamers need their space, okay?
I think it opened up the apartment, but that's neither here nor there. So that's the Activator. Number 4, the Atari 5200 controller. So the actual system's controller.
Yeah, well, that thing was an unwieldy mess.
It was. I mean, the good part about it, it introduced us to the pause button.
Yes. Okay.
So
thank you for that, Atari.
It did have
nothing else.
But beyond that, now the video, this is where I'm going to politely disagree with WatchMojo. They say that the controller was one of the reasons to the decline of the video game crash of the 80s. I don't believe that as much. I feel like it's something to do more with overproduction of gaming and an ET and everything like that. But this controller was it was weird. It had the numbers on it, which yes, I know would have an overlay over it. Numbers looking like a phone, like a dialing a phone. But this I never realized. It did have 360-degree rotation on it, so you can put the controller, in 360 degrees.
Right.
But like every other analog controller, if you will, they all have like a spring that makes it center itself. This one did not. This one had a rubber adapter that would try and center the controller's joystick, and rubber that's going to wear.
Never worked.
Yeah, so it would never center itself.
Yeah, so when you factor that in, it's just I mean, the controller was just doomed from the get-go. And again, you would think that they would have done test runs on this and realized, hey, guess what? The rubber doesn't center. We should probably put in a spring. And it's like, no, we need to launch the console. Let's just do that.
Well, they kind of did test runs in the form of people buying the system and just, as time went on, not liking the controller, because the controller went through 9 revisions when the system was launched.
That's insane.
So, yeah.
That's definitely insane and unacceptable.
But we did get a pause button, so that's good.
Yay.
Number 3, and this is one of my favorite episodes of the Angry Video Game Nerd when he reviewed this thing. The Konami Laser Scope.
Oh, good Lord.
Do you remember this thing? So,
yep, I remember that and the Angry Video Game Nerd when he did it, and it was hysterical.
So it was this unit that you put on your head. It was basically just giant size headphones. It would have this visor thing that would come out the top down, like cover one eye, so it made it look like it was a tracking system, which that was just all for aesthetic purposes. But the idea was it's voice activated, so you would yell fire, and like in Top Gun, for example, you would fire your weapon. And in other games, you'd say fire, and it would keep shooting. God help you if you play a game like Contra, where you have to constantly be firing. And you'd be sitting there just screaming over and over, fire, fire, fire. Forget about it.
Yeah, definitely not something as a parent you would want to buy your children.
And it was advertised to be to make gameplay quieter, because you got the sound of the games through the headphones.
Right. So for parents, you'll never hear the games on your television. All you'll hear is your son or daughter screaming fire repeatedly in your home.
And the better part as well was it wasn't just the keyword fire. Just any noise that you made activated, the controller.
That's good, because then you could just make obnoxious noises, like,
pretty much. Like Angry Video Game Nerd, he'd be like, fire, fire, fire. Then he would start dropping F-bombs, and those would react to the game.
Well, I mean, at least it offered you that variety.
It did. It sure did. Number 2. Now, this we've all been experienced to. The Xbox 360, specifically because of the Red Ring of Death.
Oh, yes. When did I get that Red Ring of Death? Oh, yeah. It was about 30 days after you sold me your original Xbox 360, Larry.
Yeah, it was a very short time. I would say, dare I say, 2 weeks after. It was
it
not
might have
long.
Been. It was really, really, recent after you sold that to me. The bonus of that, of course, was, though, that Microsoft gave me a brand new Xbox 360. So, I got your year-old hand-me-down, and it was immediately replaced with a brand new console.
Very good, very good. Yeah, I remember I bought the Xbox 360 Slim, and then, I sold you mine, and that's what happened there. Here's how bad. I didn't realize how bad this was.
Oh, yeah, it was a massive failure for Microsoft.
33% of the consoles had the Red Ring of Death. At one point, the repair facility in England was receiving 2,500 units a day.
Yep.
But to the credit of Microsoft, this is all from the Watch. Again, we're getting this from the WatchMojo video, which definitely go watch and give a subscribe to it. Pretty cool. Microsoft did step up their game, and when they realized how bad this was, they paid for the shipping, they paid for the repairs. In the end, which is probably a drop in the bucket for Microsoft, but it cost them $8.15 billion when it was all said and done to get these systems repaired.
Well, and for the sake of their company surviving in the video game industry, they had to eat that. They had no choice.
Totally. It was definitely good on their part because it made them recognize the problem, made them recognize and do something about it. So customer service was big time on that one.
Yeah, no question about it. And kudos to Microsoft for actually, doing that. Yeah. Nintendo should have done that and refunded everybody for every Virtual Boy sold, but they didn't.
Well, they did recommend you to use the eraser on the Nintendo Switch.
That's nice, but that doesn't make up for it.
And number 1 on WatchMojo's top 10 defective video game systems, accessories, whatever you want to call them. This one never heard of until now. The Amstrad GX4000.
Well, why don't you explain the
Amstrad
GX4000?
I like how the guy in the video, and I apologize, I don't remember his name right now, but the way he described it was, you probably never heard of it if you lived outside of the UK, and you probably never heard of it if you lived in the UK. It was a separate system, came out in 1990, that was still taking advantage of 8-bit graphics in 1990. So they, it was like an upgrade to a prior system, but it failed miserably because they were still going 8 bits. But here's the kicker of it. So, of course, all game systems come with a power adapter. So you would plug the power adapter into the wall and then plug it into the system. Really, there was no order in that. Unless you had the GX4000. You had to, and it was written on the plug. You had to plug it, the AC adapter, or DC over there, whatever they run, into the console first, and then into the wall. And I believe to unplug it, you had to unplug it from the wall first, and then from the system, because if you did it in any other combination, the system would either fry itself out and not work anymore, or explode.
Now, I want one.
I mean, can you imagine? At least, see, it would stink too, because if it's going to explode, that's because you're plugging it into the console last. And this bad boy's just going to blow up. It was a small console, don't get me wrong. You may get maybe a first-degree burn, maybe a second-degree burn. But just imagine the first person, let me plug this, boom!
That's exactly what I want. I want one, and I want us to live stream plugging this thing in the wrong order, and just showing everybody exactly what happens. I wonder, that must be on YouTube. Somebody's got to have that on YouTube, I would hope.
Sure.
If not, we need to be the first.
Oh, let's do it. All right. Let's get our hands on a GX4000.
If we have anybody in the UK listening, I might have a buddy or two over there, but I'm going to need them to track me down. The Amstrad GX4000, whatever the hell it is.
Oh boy! And those are, folks, the top 10 defective video game systems. All right, the end is near. That's it. Ant, what do we have happening this week in gaming?
Okay, I was going to say the end is near, and not just for this week's podcast.
Oh, you'll get your rest. Don't worry.
I need more sleep. So this week in gaming is actually it's a short list this week. Okay. I guess 4th of July week doesn't prompt big releases, so this is gonna be short and sweet.
All right.
So we're gonna go all the way back to 1980. Actually, you know what? I was debating on whether or not to mention this because it's not a video game itself, but this week in gaming history, going all the way back to 1950.
Whoa. That is the furthest we've gone back.
Bandai, the company, was formed.
Really?
So,
wow. All right.
Yes.
That's cool.
So something to point out in our
happy
video
birthday,
game
Bandai.
history. Happy birthday, Bandai. Now we'll go 30 years later to 1980. The first game I have on my list is called The Wizard's Castle for the Commodore PET.
The Commodore PET.
The Commodore PET. Very early Commodore system. The Wizard's Castle. 1984 on the Famicom in Japan, we got everyone's favorite monkey, Donkey Kong, Part 3 with everyone's least favorite hero, Stanley.
Oh, Stanley. Welcome back, Stanley. Well, actually, welcome to the debut of Stanley.
Yes. Stanley. You and your atomizer. We love that game. All right, jumping a few years to 1987. I want to get my hands on this game. It's for the Famicom in Japan. It's called Zombie Hunter.
Ooh.
Now, a zombie game going back to the 80s is kind of cool. Now, granted, like Super Ghosts and Goblins, you can argue there were zombies and whatnot, but this one's specific to zombie hunting. So,
okay.
Curious enough to want to look into it more.
Yeah, right.
1988 on the Sega Master System in Japan, we got Bubble Bobble.
Bubble Bobble.
Which is a great game.
Bubble Bobble.
I remember playing that in the arcades all the time.
Yeah, right.
I've got two games. You know how I always point out like wacky game names and stuff like that. I got two on. I think I got 2 or 3 on the list this week.
Oh wow! Okay.
This is the first one. Yeah. So 1989 in Japan on the PC 98, we have a game called Celery.
Okay.
I'm afraid to look up information about it because I'm worried that the hero of the game is just going to be like just a stalk of celery.
That'd be awesome.
So, if anybody listening is brave enough to do the information and send it back to me, please do. I'm scared. Moving on. 1990 on the Famicom in Japan again. Not a lot of notable American releases in the 80s, but on the Famicom in Japan, 1990, Hatris.
Okay, all right. That was a weird game, but okay.
Yeah, Tetris with hats.
Yeah, pretty much.
All right. We are jumping 3 years to 1993 in Japan for the Sharp X68000.
Yes,
our favorite retro gaming system that we've never heard of until this podcast.
We're making famous again.
All right, now hang on to your hats for this one. We've got Pasacomic Purple Cat Volume 2, Hospital Takushu.
What was that first word?
Pasacomic. Pasocomic.
Is that an English word?
I've never heard of it before, so no.
All righty.
So Pasacomic Purple Cat Volume 2, Hospital Takushu.
Fantastic.
I want to know what Pasacomic Purple Cat Volume 1 was about.
Oh, man.
But anyway, everybody run out and get that right now. 1996 on the Sega Saturn in the U.S., we got Galaxy Fight Universal Warriors.
Okay.
And on the PlayStation in 1996, we got SimCity 2000.
Ooh, I got that. Good game.
Great game. I love the SimCity games. Unfortunately, after the first year as mayor, though, like I never have enough money to keep building.
Yeah, honestly, you kind of got to raise those taxes.
I do, but then everybody complains that I raise the taxes too much, and then I'm nice and I lower them, and then I have no money again.
That's why our taxes are where they are. Sometimes you can't be nice.
I got to be a meaner mayor. Jumping a few years to 1999 in the U.S. on Windows, we got Driver.
Okay. Very good.
Jumping to 2000 on the PlayStation in the U.S., X-Men Mutant Academy.
Oh, nice.
That was the X-Men fighter game that was more. I want to say it was more basically based off of the film.
No,
not necessarily.
It was the
graphics were all like they were going with like the real 3D kind of graphics. With that,
real quick on a side note, did you hear the reason why X-Men aren't in Marvel vs. Capcom Infinity? Supposedly, the rumor is that they left them out because I don't know if it was Capcom or someone else who made the decision. People don't quote unquote remember the X-Men.
Well, that's not necessarily true. I think the reason why for a while Marvel was actually planning on not releasing any more X-Men comics because Fox, 20th Century Fox, still has the movie rights. Mm-hmm. And Marvel doesn't want to create anything for a franchise they don't own 100% rights to, because they don't get 100% of the, of the return.
Yeah.
So they were actually phasing out X-Men comic books too.
Maybe that's what they meant by it. So
yeah, and I think and I think that's probably part of the reasons why you're not going to see them in the Marvel Capcom game. They really don't want to publicize characters they don't own 100% of.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah, it's sad. It's sad though, because the X-Men is probably one of the most beloved franchises in the Marvel canon.
Honestly, right?
So now they're making everybody trying to forget it. Sad, very sad. Also in 2000 on PlayStation in Japan, we got Final Fantasy IX.
Nice.
Which is awesome.
Yep.
Jumping a couple of years to 2002 on the original Xbox in the US, we got Bruce Lee, Quest of the Dragon.
I think I remember that game.
Yep.
Yeah.
On Windows Mobile, we got Tomb Raider.
Okay.
And then on Windows, we got Warcraft 3, Reign of Chaos.
Nice.
Awesome game.
Yeah.
2003 on Windows, Midnight Club 2.
Sweet.
On GameCube, Charlie's Angels.
Oh.
Pretty sure based off the movie.
Totally. And it was rough.
Yes. And Xbox, we got a game called Outlaw Volleyball. So it's volleyball with outlaws?
Yeah. I think it's more. I think if I remember it correctly, it was more like almost like DOA. Remember the DOA volleyball game? I think.
Yes.
It may be more your way. I don't remember.
Beats me. 2005 on PlayStation 2 and GameCube, we got Killer 7. And I've never heard of that before. So something to research. And then 2006, we're gonna end. We're gonna end on this one. 2006. For Windows, released worldwide, we got Ted's Wet Adventure.
Whoa! All right. No,
I'm just gonna leave that.
We're gonna end it on that, folks. Search at your own risk.
Exactly. Please make sure you're over 18 when you look that up.
Yes, please do. So, all right, excellent. We got another week down pat. Very good. And kind of briefly mentioned it earlier, but. So you can follow us on iTunes. You can follow us on Spreaker. You can follow us on YouTube for now, my page, More365, but there's a separate section for the retro gamers. But now you can listen to us on iHeartRadio app.
That's right. We have made the big time.
Yeah, man. And it's just another option for you if you don't have like a podcast app or something like that. You can listen to us. Now there's really no excuse not to listen to us at this point.
Oh, no. Trust me, there are plenty of excuses.
So wherever you go, though, hit subscribe, hit follow. We definitely love the likes. Also on Apple iTunes. Apple Podcasts, that's what it's called now. On Apple Podcasts, look up the Retro Gamer. Retro Gamers, take just a couple of minutes. We'd love to get a review, 5 stars if possible, and leave just a quick little review because it really will help out as well in the future. It doesn't take long at all. So we're getting there.
Yes, and please review. And when you do add your reviews in, we do require at least one Virtual Boy insult per review.
Yeah. We want you to do our work.
Hey,
yeah.
I will quote them on the podcast. If we get some.
We should do it. Hashtag VB sucks. There you go. So,
yeah,
and I'm saying that. That's right. I'm saying that. So
hashtag VB sucks. VBSUX.
Okay, even better. Yes, yeah. Because who knows, right? So with that, though, we're gonna wrap it all up, and so follow us everywhere. Don't forget the website, theretrogamers.com, Instagram at @the_retrogamers, and Ant, try and get some sleep, rest up. Hopefully not doing much.
I think I'm gonna slip into a coma for the next couple of days.
Excellent. And again. Happy birthday, America. Happy 4th of July, everyone. Be safe. Try not to blow your fingers off. And instead of using fireworks, why don't you go play a couple of old school games?